Speaking of that, let me just go ahead and play a clip again of Dianne Feinstein, whose bill Obama says he's going to put his, quote, full weight behind. That's a quote. Her last bill, she didn't have the votes for it. Now she has them, she says, to make you Mr. and Mrs. America, turn your guns in. Here's that clip.
California Senator Dianne Feinstein worked for more than a year to get the assault weapons bill passed in the face of ferocious opposition from the National Rifle Association. She says she got the best she could.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it. I could not do that. The votes weren't here.
But that was over a decade ago. Now her bill says that because, well, a decade ago, the American people wouldn't put up with the UN and NATO commanding our military. They wouldn't put up with the NSA spying on the American people without warrants and admitting it's going after conservative, libertarian, and constitutional groups. See, the whole homeland system is now for us. They admit it. I want to play another clip, and then for the rest of this segment, the next, we're going to go to our guest, a police chief. I want to first play this clip from last year, Lubbock County, Texas, with Judge Head. He's the county judge. That's like the county mayor. Talking about Obama's going to come for the guns. That judge had actually read Obama's quotes and the UN quotes. See, they've all said over and over again they want a total abolition of guns. That's in the preamble to the original UN treaty. But see, when we're informed, when Judge Head is informed, or Police Chief Mark Kessler's informed, or Ron Paul's informed, the con artist in corporate mainstream collaborator media, they just go to the public, oh, that's a kook. That's a conspiracy theorist. Don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. Just listen to us. But see, that doesn't work anymore. That's why they're so desperate to bankrupt America now and get our guns now, because they know America's waking up. That's why they're trying to get in as many illegal aliens as they can, get as much people on welfare as they can. They paid $22 billion to ship General Motors to China. Look it up. Barely made the news, but it's in the news. Volt and Cadillac factories. Can't believe Cadillac's made in China, most of them. Anything they can. It's one thing if you move to China. It's another thing if my money paid to move it there. They're not, liberals aren't screwing up. They're not liberals. They're authoritarians. They are engaged in economic siege. But here's Judge Head on local Fox News. And now other police, other county judges, mayors are saying the same thing. If 800 cities and 30-plus states can nullify for illegal aliens, when that is a violation of federal and state law, and just let them do whatever they want, well, we can nullify illegal federal laws when they are unconstitutional and say, our local police under the mayor and under the county or whatever, the sheriff, we're not taking people's guns. Okay, but this police chief goes further. They make provisions to defend the Second Amendment. You've got to call these tyrants bluff. 10 years ago, Feinstein said, oh, I got to get votes to take your guns. We got to get an amendment, lady. Constitutional amendment. Now, a decade later, she's like, oh, we'll just do it with an executive order. That's in the Washington Post. They're seeing what the public does. They're seeing if there's a backlash right now. We're going to go to our guest, but first, here is Judge Head of Lubbock County, Texas, during the election, warning of this eventuality coming to a head. No pun intended. Here it is.
He is going to try to hand over the sovereignty of the United States to the UN. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's going to happen when that happens? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking worst case scenario.
Right,
okay?
I understand.
Civil unrest, civil disobedience, civil war, maybe. I mean, we're not talking just a few riots here and demonstrations. We're talking Lexington, Concord, take up arms and get rid of the guy. Mm-hmm. Okay, now what's going to happen if we do that? If the public decides to do that? Mm-hmm. He's going to send in UN troops. I don't want them in Lubbock County, okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stand in front of their armored personnel carriers and say, you're not coming in here. Mm-hmm. And the sheriff, I've already asked him, I said, you going to back me? He said, yeah, I'll back you. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want a bunch of rookies back there.
All right.
True. I want trained.
Yeah, he goes on to say they had to create another unit just to deal with the feds. And if every county did that, it'd be over. And people say, well, that's crazy. The feds are God. The feds have been taken over by foreign mega banks on record. Okay, I'm done ranting. Our guest is with us this segment and the next. And he joins us. But imagine 10 years ago hearing that, it would have been crazy. 4 months ago, it sounded a little strange to people. Now it's like, oh, yeah. See, no, that guy was just more informed than even the general conservative out there. Okay? This is what's going to happen. Okay, they plan on raising taxes. Now Obama's already calling for more tax increases. Same thing in 1775. Eating out our substance, reducing us to ruin. That was the plan, so the British nobility could buy up all the businesses and land for pennies on the dollar. It was Oliver Wendell Holmes, the Supreme Court justice, that said, the famous justice that said, taxes are the price of civilization. And that's true to have somewhat of a civilization, a small, limited government. But what about when the government becomes evil and destructive of those aims, which happens all throughout history, and uses civilization to destroy us and reduce us to slavery? All right, we take you now to Police Chief Mark Kessler in a Pennsylvania town of Gilberton. It's like Mayberry RFK, and his citizens are backing him. Pennsylvania Police Chief proposes Second Amendment preservation ordinance, demand a real plan, nullify unconstitutional gun laws, and he joins us to talk about enact any and all measures as may be necessary to prevent the violation of the Second Amendment. That's right. That's right. Not just say we're not going to enforce unconstitutional laws, enact whatever it takes, any means necessary. I want to salute you, sir, for your stand for the Republic, and it's good to have you here with us. Tell us why this came to mind and where this is going.
Well, thank you very much, Alex, for having me on your show. This came to mind after the Sandy Hook shooting and the outcry for everybody to ban weapons. Hopefully, after 3 or 4 weeks of research, I came up with the idea for the nullification process. And after several drafts, I planned on introducing it to the Borough Council on our next meeting on January 24th, which I hope they do pass.
Well, I hope it does pass. Why did you, I mean, did the clock get so close to midnight? Is that why you came up with this plan?
Well, just the events in general that are going on, Alex, right now around the country, in particularly in Washington, that everybody's screaming to, ban weapons, and they fail to realize that it's not the weapon that's causing the problem. It's the person behind the weapon that's causing the problem. And until they figure that out, they're never going to solve the problem. It's not the law-abiding citizens that are going out and committing these heinous crimes that are so evil and unspeakable. It's the mentally ill, unfortunately, that are doing a lot of these crimes and criminals. It's not the law-abiding citizens.
Well, that's right. I mean, every day in this country, unfortunately, every day I've looked it up, or on average every day, a mentally ill person takes a butcher knife and stabs their family with it. Do I have to lose my butcher knife because they do that? We're going to be right back with the police chief. Pennsylvania police chief proposes Second Amendment preservation ordinance. We appreciate his courage and his forethought, and this is something that can really pick up steam everywhere. I mean, if they let the illegal aliens run free, and that's unconstitutional, how about police and counties and cities just pass laws saying we nullify unconstitutional garbage?
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center in the heart of the resistance. You're listening to the Alex Jones Show.
Coming up in the next hour, we'll look at the economy, take your phone calls, and look at the White House and NATO funding radical Islamic groups to invade different countries. I want to show some statistics here and then go back to the police chief from Pennsylvania who's introduced a plan with the city council to have the Second Amendment Preservation Act in their area. And again, big things have small beginnings, but here's an article at Infowars.com by Mac Slavo. America's biggest killers, the chart anti-gunners don't want you to see. And then it goes directly to FBI.gov and the Centers for Disease Control, their own numbers. Tobacco use, 529,000 conservatively. Medical errors, 195,000. Unintentional injuries, 118,000, slipping in the shower. Alcohol abuse, 107,400. Motor vehicle accidents, deaths. These are deaths, by the way. All these are. 34,000 deaths. So you've got tobacco, 500 plus thousand. Medical errors, 195,000. Unconventional injuries, 118,000. Alcohol abuse, 107,000. Motor vehicle accidents, 34,000. Going to ban cars because they're dangerous? Well, don't worry. They want to make you drive robot cars now. That's the whole Google plan, so look out. Unintentional poisoning, 31,758. Well, got to ban everything poisonous. Well, everything's poisonous. But you can drink too much Scope mouthwash and die. I mean, going to ban that. Drug abuse, 25,000. Unintentional falls. So that was separate from that, 24,792. Non-firearm homicides, baseball bats, ice picks, butcher knives, rocks, 16,799. Firearms homicides, 11,493 in 2011. These numbers always come out a year late, so these just came out a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. The point is that you've got a much better chance of falling in the shower and dying than from a firearm. And over 70% of those 11,000, go look at FBI.gov and violent crime statistics, are gangbangers killing each other. Now, 4,000 is still a big number, but it's nothing compared to everything else. This is a hoax. I want to go back to the police chief. Sir, you've got the floor here for the balance of the segment. Where would you like to see this go, the common sense, what you see in your town? How do we get your council to get this law passed? How do people read a copy of it so other towns can introduce it? I mean, this is what we need to do because you've got all these other cities ignoring things that are the law. Well, how about we have cities ignore things that are unconstitutional?
Well, Alex, I've been receiving phone calls from all across the country, from Alaska to California, asking for copies of the alleged proposal I'm going to introduce to council on the 24th of January, from mayors in Chester County, Pennsylvania, to mayors in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, that want copies. Different sheriff departments all around the country that are asking me for copies. They have called and given me great support throughout this whole thing. And I would like to see it spread throughout the entire continental United States.
Yes.
By every means necessary, and spread the word to everybody. And we're not going to stand idle. We can't stand and just let these bureaucrats in Washington ram down anti-constitutional law to the American people. It's just not right. And I will not. My department will not enforce any unconstitutional laws against the Second Amendment or the Constitution of the United States, as far as I'm concerned, or the Constitution of Pennsylvania.
Well, I know you're sticking your neck out because you love the Republic and your family and our future. And obviously, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but guns are the canary in the coal mine. I'd like you to elaborate on that, Chief. But looking at this, it's an example of leadership. You do this, and you haven't even put it out publicly yet. Obviously, you will soon on the city website. And you already have people all over the country wanting to emulate what you've done. And that's the essence of this. We have to simply stand up as leaders and do what's right, and others will join us. But if we just stand here and let the tyranny take over, as Churchill said, there may come a time when we have to stand up and fight because it's better to die on our feet than as slaves, instead of fighting politically early on when our chance for victory was assured.
Exactly.